Isaiah Scholl's dad doesn't need to mark April 20th on the calendar. The date is seared into his broken heart.
We've got a shooting at Columbine. Suspect still on scene, shotguns, grenades. Needed to respond ASAP.
Every day is the 20th for me. I can't miss him any more than I do now. A whole lot of people saying, "Oh, you are healed." Well, maybe so, but not yet. I find myself crying all the time.
Tell me about Isaiah.
He was a young man that every man in the world would have loved to call him son. He would give you the shirt off of his back if he felt that you needed it.
Isaiah was one of 3 siblings who went to the predominantly white school.
That morning that Isaiah went to school, what do you remember of that day?
Well, my wife woke me up and said they had a shooting at the school.
As gunshots rang out, Isaiah's dad was out of his mind with fear for his kids and tried in vain to break through police lines to rescue them.
Sorry. A sheriff got to stop me from going up there, and those children was in there getting massacred, and nobody was going in.
So you had 3 children in the school?
Yes,
And you're hearing the gunshots?
Yes, and that's what made me lose it.
2 of his kids made it out, but there was still no word on Isaiah. That is, until he saw his son's wrestling coach and the expression of horror on his face.
He just started crying. Him and Isaiah was really tight.
Did he say anything to you?
He just said, Mike, Mike, Mike. I mean, I knew it then. I just fell to my knees and started crying out to God. Please don't let this be. 3 of his classmates walked up to me and my wife and said, "Mr. Scholes, you can stop looking for Isaiah because he's gone. He's gone."
In a terrible twist of fate, the Scholes family had planned to move, but Isaiah had begged them to stay until he graduated in 3 weeks. Isaiah's dad is a record producer, and he had big plans for his talented musical son.
And I was gonna let him do an album of his own, whatever he wanted to do on it.
Just a day after the massacre, Isaiah's dad and Craig Scott appear on NBC's Today Show with Katie Couric.
And they shot Isaiah.
An iconic moment woven into the consciousness of America in mourning.
I'm Rachel Scott, and I'm 9 years old, and my middle name is Joy.
Your middle name is Joy?
Yeah.
Craig still visits his sister's grave.
How has your family dealt with all of this?
It brought my family closer together. We all now tell each other we love each other more. It affected my family in a huge way. All of us have participated in sharing with the world who Rachel was and some of the messages that she had for her generation that she left in writings. They were very powerful.
What was she like?
She was witty, she was real, she was genuine, somebody to let her actions speak. She lived a lot of what she believed for her short life.
Did Columbine make you question your faith in God?
It strengthened it because I saw things unfold that felt like something terrible being turned into something amazing.
Kindness and compassion can be the biggest antidotes to...
Craig started a foundation called Value Up. It's about preventing teen violence. He hopes that by spreading Rachel's story and her writings on compassion, there will be fewer tragedies like Columbine.
I've spoken to over 1 million students, and I've seen thousands and thousands of students have positive heart changes because of my sister's story and message, and because of what I went through. So it gave me purpose.
Doctors have called Anne-Marie Hochhalter the miracle girl. She nearly died when a bullet from Eric Harris's Tech-9 semi-automatic weapon severed her spine. For years, she struggled with life in a wheelchair, but when Dylan Klebold's mother recently published a memoir, A Mother's Reckoning, about her mentally sick son, Anne-Marie posted an open letter to Facebook. Surprisingly, it was not to condemn her.
Dear Sue Klebold,
Anne-Marie received this sincere note of apology from Sue and Tom Klebold for the actions of their son.
Dear Anne-Marie, our prayers have been with you each day as we read about the terrible ordeal you and your family have experienced. That meant so much to me because my mom committed suicide. She had depression. And just if we can help prevent anyone from committing suicide, that would mean everything. This woman has her heart in the right place.
For Sean Graves, his nightmare from that day of slaughter still manages to trespass into his daily life, but he's learned to stare it down.
How'd you do it?
Determination. Well, I'm stubborn, and I refuse to give up.
Through sheer grit, he beat the odds and miraculously learned to walk again.
I had to learn to crawl first before I could walk again. For months, I crawled around my house. The first time that it actually felt like I was able to see a bright light was when I was in my bedroom. The bed's behind me. I'm not going to use the braces. Let me at least try to get up on my own. And I remember fighting my way up, and I was able to stand there before I fell backwards. I remember thinking, okay, well, that was 1 second. Now how am I going to get more? I made it my own goal that I would take my wheelchair into graduation, and I was walking out, and I would never use it again.
So you walked up to get your diploma.
I made my goal.
Since then, every anniversary, he returns to the grassy knoll where he and Lance were wounded to pay tribute to his buddy, Dan Rohrbaugh, who died.
When Dan was still with us, he wanted cigars. And so every year on the 20th, I'll go back to where I was shot, where Lance was shot, and where Dan was killed. And I'll leave him a cigar, and I'll smoke one with him. And that's how I honor him.
And to make peace with such wanton evil, Sean says he had to banish the hatred he had for the killers.
I hated those two. And it was poisoning my soul, inhibiting my ability to move on and for me to be happy. I just took the high road, became the better person, and forgave them.
No.
I get on YouTube every so often, and I like to play a game. It's called Where Am I in the security footage. It almost feels better for me to go back and actually fully understand what happened. It's one of those things that I kind of have to know.
Are you now in your life where you wanted to be when you were 15 before all this happened?
Yes and no. You know, I have my house, I've got my wife, I've got my American dream. Back when I was shot, though, I would have taken anything to walk. I would have given it all up. Everyone's starting to look at it, and they're starting to live in fear. Look past that and see the good in people. Things do get better. They don't have to focus on the negative.
A good lesson to learn.